Hello everyone, Walk and Talk 47. Digital identity. Walk and Talk 47. Digital identity. You probably noticed it's got a bit clearer around here. It's a bit of a shame. Crossing the bridge to reality. So I've just done about 5 separate test runs recording directly from my device, and the sound seems to have held out okay, but I have no doubt that because now I'm recording for real, as Bruce, because I'm recording for real, no doubt it's probably the sound is going to mess up, and I do apologise. Unfortunately, as you could probably hear in my last video, the recording on using that microphone was pretty atrocious, so I will have to invest again in a better microphone. Thanks to everybody for all of your support and comments, they're much appreciated. And to be quite honest, I don't really know if I'm even going to need a microphone or a device for much longer, because if this digital ID comes into play and it's necessary, mandatory to have a digital ID if you are to access the internet or own a device, then I won't be needing any microphones or any devices, because I can tell you now that I absolutely will not be getting a digital ID. That is the hill I have been preparing to die on. I would rather eat myself than be marked, as their plan, the Book of Revelation makes quite clear. The repercussions of taking the digital ID, it's going to be a bit like taking the vaccines. You may have seen my last short video where I posted about the Latin to English translation of these words: AstraZeneca. 4 words in Latin. AstraZeneca in 4 words translates from Latin to English to a road to death. And many of us told everyone not to take the road to death. Now you can ask people, when you ask people what vaccine they took, you can say, what one did you take, Pfizer or a road to death? They're all roads to death really, aren't they? But yeah, the digital ID is going to be similar. That's what you're on when you take that. You're going to be on the road to death. And it's going to be a lot worse from what I've gathered and what I've uncovered, which I will explain to you in future videos. But it truly is the beginning of them taking over your spirit and your soul, and then more than likely trapping your essence on some server somewhere after they've played God with your digital footprint upon death. We'll go over that in another video, and we'll go over ways to protect yourself for such circumstances. We have to outsmart them, and I've got a very simple way of outsmarting them upon separation. Digital ID. They know that many of us are not going to take it, and they don't mind about that, as long as some of you do. They would much prefer it if everybody took it. That's why they've been giving us this technology over 25 to 30 years, slowly building up the people's connection with this technology, with the digital world, so that people become addicted, and so that people cannot, or that people will find it very difficult to deny the digital ID, because at this point everybody's hooked, especially the children, and that's where they've got us, right? That's where they've got most people. Especially the children. So what you're likely going to have as well is the parents with a little bit of savvy, with a brain cell left, are going to deny the digital ID, and their children aren't. Their children will take it. Now, when it comes to Great Britain, or the UK, whatever you want to call it, they're going to give out the digital ID to all of those migrants that they've moved in there. Oh man. And then the English people, the actual natives of the UK, will be deemed as second, third, fourth class citizens, and the migrants will take the digital ID because they know no better and probably run with it. Again, all of this stuff is merely hypothetical. We're just trying to work out what are the potential possibilities surrounding a digital identity rollout. You've got to love in the UK too, where they're trying out the digital identity on veterans first. You know, because they love veterans so much, and they want them to have the digital ID first, so that they can use it to get their discounts on stuff and all of that. Well, I'm going to be quite blunt with you. Every time a veteran commits suicide, somebody in Westminster masturbates. Sorry if that sounds harsh, horrendous, horrific, but sometimes you have to say it as it is so that the message gets through, so people truly understand what we're dealing with here. We all know that the government are not going to give out a digital ID to veterans first because they care about veterans. They absolutely hate veterans. They don't want to pay the medical costs for veterans. They don't want to pay for their health care. They certainly don't want to have to pay their pension when they die. They don't want to rehouse them, and I would say mostly they don't want a capable fighting force that may resist the tyranny that the governments are pushing on the people. And when you have a population of around 4 million veterans, or at least you did 5 years ago in the UK, that's a big fighting force of people, of men and women who are capable of causing a bit of a problem for the system. So they absolutely hate veterans. That's why veterans are kicked to the gutter and left homeless on the street, while with no food, nothing, while the migrants have been given 5-star hotel, 4-star hotels at least. Well, now they're moving them into military barracks. Even a homeless veteran can't get into a military barracks for a bit of shelter. So they're giving that to the migrants, giving them free meals a day, giving them payouts, giving them free mobile phones. And that comes back to the digital ID. They're giving the migrants free brand new iPhones and Samsung devices. And obviously that is because, I would imagine, those devices will be not quite straight out of the shop and probably tracked and traced. I imagine without a digital ID in the future you will not be able to access the internet. So I can only presume that they're probably going to have a small cyber attack that shuts down the internet for some time, not for long. They won't do it for long because they rely on recording us all, because they need all of the footage that they're obtaining, and the footage that's to come from all the unfolding chaos. They need that footage to show the future generations how they don't want to be, you see. And the future generations will not realise that the ghastly horrors that are about to unfold were brought about by the same system that said that they saved them. We can talk about all of that in the future. But they are, yeah, some cyber attack, and then they can say, well, now everybody that wants to get online must log in using their digital ID, you know, for it to be safe, so that we know that this cyber attack can't happen again, even though the cyber attack would have been done by the people pushing the digital ID. We look at the digital identity in India, apparently, as they've had a right old problem with many identities being hacked, people being locked out of certain services unnecessarily because their digital identity has been hacked. It's not good, folks. The digital identity is not good, and it's going to lead, it's not just to buy or sell. It's about trapping your whole digital spiritual life, your whole spirit on that thing. Like I told you in the previous videos, how the spirit upon death, upon separation, takes a number of days to depart and has to go through those days and try and not be attached to anything. And, well, people are pretty attached to their YouTube channels, their Facebook pages, their porn, and all the rest of it to do with the internet. Internet. World Wide Web. What do you do with a net? Well, you catch stuff. What does a spider do with a web? Well, it catches stuff. It catches flies, and you're deemed as a fly, see? But they're not just about controlling the physical. Oh no. These people have plans to take the spirit down, to take that, and then inevitably, once that defense is gone, they want the soul too. Like I say, we'll talk about all of that in future videos, and I'll explain it all, how I think that will be played out, because I've I thought about it a lot, and from their view, if I was in their shoes, how would I do it? And I think I've got a pretty good idea of how they look to do it. So what can be done about the digital identity? And that's the crazy thing about the whole digital identity sketch. The crazy thing is, the solution is really rather simple. You don't have to go out and protest. It's not like protests ever work, because they don't. You don't have to go and riot with the police. You don't even have to leave the comfort of your own home. All you have to do is weigh up the pros and the cons and decide, actually, there is a way out of this. I don't want a digital ID, and therefore I'm going to hold my government and the globalists to ransom. And it will also buy you some time before they start really kicking it off. We know that they rely on you being connected with the internet so that they can monitor and record everything that's happening before and leading up to the chaos, so they can show the future generations. So they really need you on the internet, and preferably, as we all know, in the future they want you completely hooked up to the internet 24/7 via a chip in the brain. The digital ID will be a stepping stone towards that. There will be a big divide, and there will be those who take it and those who don't take it. Those who don't take it will be locked out of the system. Why do you think I'm here, folks? I should be okay locked out of the system, at least for a good few years of absolute and total freedom. You see, a lion in a cage gets free food, free healthcare. It's secure, it gets free security, but it's in a cage. It might live a whole number of years because it's in a cage. And a free lion doesn't have any of those free things. It relies upon itself only. And it lives freely, maybe not for as many years because it's not in captivity, but those years are full and not sad. If you look at every single human being that's trapped in the cage today, in the slave cage today, they're all pretty sad and miserable. And if they're not, for the most part, they're taking drugs to suppress that misery and depression. So what is the solution? How do you hold a government and the globalists to ransom? It's strange because everybody's talking about doing all of these different things, protesting and just saying no and blah blah blah. People are looking for any other option or any other solution except for the viable working solution and the most simplest solution. If you want to hold your government to ransom and you want to put these globalists in a state of shock, just to hold them back a little bit as they're trying to break down the doors of the castle, just to hold them off for a little longer while you prepare a little bit more. All you have to do en masse is get everybody that doesn't want a digital ID in the UK to shut off their internet, shut off all of their digital devices, shut off their computers, their televisions and their laptops, their iPads, iPods, eyeglasses and iWatches, And of course, especially the phones. Just shut them off. Shut them off. Just for a week or two. Just for 2 weeks. Oh, if everybody did that. Such a simple thing to do. If everybody did that, the system would start to crack very quickly. Your government would start to crack and break down. And all of those tech billionaires would start to crack and break down. And it would throw a real spanner in the works for these globalists, because they would be thinking, they would not be expecting that. So also you're hitting them with the element of surprise, which any soldier will tell you is a valuable tool upon attacking the enemy. And the element of surprise is just, they wouldn't be expecting it. They think you're all hooked, and maybe everybody is too hooked. Maybe everybody is incapable of just turning their devices off for a short time in order to save the future of their children's enslavement. I mean, we're already pretty much enslaved. I mean, they were just injecting you a few years ago, and some of them still are. That pharmaceutical company, AstraZeneca, is still injecting people. That pharmaceutical company, should I say, A Road to Death, is still injecting people. So maybe I don't have much hope that people are going to be able to do the most simple thing for the best solution to this problem. But that's all it will take. And what you'll find, if people actually did do that, they'll find they'll start communicating again in their public houses, in their cafes, in their open spaces. We need to show the system that we are not reliant on their digital technology, and that it goes our way. We use the digital technology for our purposes. It goes in our direction, not in their direction. They don't control the flow of this train. We control it. It's in our hands, you know. Honestly, if everybody in the UK, for example, just shut off their devices as a protest for 2 weeks, you would break the system, and they would be listening to you very quickly. Here's my birds again. Do you remember my birds? I can hear me coming. Can hear me talking. My voice is a bit husky at the moment, so I might not be able to call out as nicely to them as I usually do. Woo, woo, woo. My little mates. Woo, woo, woo. Oh, you gotta love them. So that's the solution, folks. That is really the only solution that you have. And well, if people can't do that, they're done for. They're absolutely done for. It's not your physical body that you need to be worried about. It's the soul and the spirit. All right, I'll leave that video here. Be blessed, everybody. And may your dog or your dogs go with you. Rooski! Those are beautiful rooskies. He's going to say goodbye. Say goodbye then. Say bye-bye, Will. Say bye.